Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hi, I'm Sue Rose Minahan, and this is Talk Cosmos, a weekly hour panel. And we're a YouTube, so do subscribe and like us. We are today talking with the full moon. Today is March 28th, 2021, and the Libra full moon of 8 degrees has been happening just as recently. And we will discuss that at length because we're also going to be discussing the Aries New Moon, which is on the 11th. And you could say that energetically Libra works to compare itself and mirror the choices we have to harmonize imbalances. So because it's really a culmination, the full moon always, as the sun is reflecting as total power, the moon never emits, it just reflects. So it is reflecting that energy that we will soon be encountering on the 11th. Okay, well, thank you. We now are ready for the Moonbeam Team.
Relating to the sun and moon's energies, including the planets and the entire cosmos for the month's systematic 2-week intervals of the new moon and full moon, plus the annual 4 to 5 eclipses, this is your Moonbeam Team.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, host of Talk Cosmos, an evolutionary astrologer and consultant, plus a certified color energy coach. I explore creative expression as an artist, a musician, and write abundantly, stories to poetry. I love investigating mythology's language, philosophizing eternity, and I'm a perpetual student of life, seeing oneness of body, spirit of people, animals, and nature.
I'm Elizabeth Liz Muschett, certified astrologer, sacred healing counselor, tarotist, and numerologist, providing individual consultations, teaching and tutoring internationally, co-author of Gateways to Change, Keys to Navigating the Seas of Life, currently facilitating workshops in Marysville and Camano Island, Washington.
I'm Katherine Metcalf, professional astrologer, intuitive, and tarot card reader. I am very blessed to live my passion by offering individual consultations and teaching classes at a local college and online. I love to talk and write about the planetary dances and how we fit into it. I have been lucky enough to be featured on NBC, Cosmopolitan Magazine, and Huffington Post. My goal is to educate, enlighten, and empower you.
And I'm Sara Stromley, a craniosacral therapist and founder of Brain Body Therapy in Kirkland, Washington. I'm an evolutionary astrologer that incorporates different forms of horary, location mapping, and medical astrology into my practice. I enjoy uncovering flower and mineral frequencies that also support the mind-body coherence that aid in the healing journey.
And as Albert Einstein said,
energy is never destroyed. Energy only changes.
Gee, and I guess things are changing. Oh, it's changing. It's so true. I had not said that the Libra, well, I did say, but it was 2:48 in the afternoon Eastern time. So we can figure out that would be 5:48 Pacific. And, right? Yeah.
No, 11:48 Pacific.
11:48. Boy, you know, over here in Hawaii, I'm going backwards and forwards like a fan. I cannot get time down. It's like, wow. Well, I'll start off with what I'm thinking. This is, it doesn't have to be new moon, full moon, because we're going to do both. It's a whole energy of now. All right, just to kind of clarify what, and I'm thinking of what one thing I noticed, that it is birthing the I am within. That through learning our values, because the sun is with Venus right now, it's the name of the game. And it's going to be a story. Okay, So who's next? Speak. Pop. Boing. Come on.
I'll go.
Okay.
So, so I think I'm looking at the full moon in Libra and then the new moon in Aries. And I think with them working together, there's a release and then forward movement. But I think underneath it all is a focus on love and healing.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Next.
I agree
Jump.
with Catherine, and its relationships are highlighted. And there's this big, huge party in Aries with so many planets there. So I think releasing, we're going to make huge, giant steps, even if we just take a small, tiny step.
Oh, that is so action oriented. That's what the universe loves. Okay, last but not least, Sara.
Yeah, I'm seeing just this, Libran energy, and all these air and fiery elements fueling each other, and the pursuit of better life balance is just so integrated into all of us, and there's just this bundle of fiery concepts, ideas, and airy concepts of ideas and arguments and ideas that are what, at this time of year, it's normally a peak annual energy, but there's so much outward energy that's pulling at us, and it's a bit ungrounded, so it's just causing a bit of further imbalance, tapping personal reserves in some sense. So there's themes of over-identification of various roles we play, and we all have a lot of hats that we wear that weigh on what our core essence that's just trying to emerge, and that's what Aries wants us to do. It's seeking this release and emergence.
Well, that's a handful and a good one, because what it struck me was this over-identification of roles, which is everything about Pluto in Capricorn, which is really still working its wonder, and it will be until 2024. So we're in its handbag, you might say, because through all of it is like releasing. It's so true what may be put upon us and what we put upon us, and hey, who's us? Who are we? So it's very true. I could go on, and I'm realizing oftentimes I direct, but you know what? It's Libra. It's sort of like a potpourri here, right? We have energies. We know each other. We can jump in. So go ahead with some thoughts that you have. I have to close my door because I am in a. Okay.
Well, I like the grand trine and air in the full moon chart. To me, that's we can improve our communication. It's bringing new opportunities. It's an easy flow of energy.
Mm-hmm. Do you have the chart that you can pull up, or?
I think Sue was going to do that. So.
Oh, which one was this, Liz? I'm so sorry.
The Libra full moon chart.
Oh, the Libra full moon chart. I thought I sent that to everybody. I can't pull it up here, but it is, March 28th is right now.
I just thought for people that wanted to see it. So
you know what? With this particular,
all over it.
But the reason is that this is StreamYard, and it's a different setup than it's live, and it's not Zoom. So the capacities, we're still learning how to use it. Yeah, go ahead. I'd love to see your photograph. Go ahead.
Okay,
Catherine.
This is just the.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for people that like to see the chart itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's the beautiful grand trine that Liz was just talking about, and then I think somebody else that I was watching was talking about, was it you, Sara, that was talking about the mystical rectangle?
Liz was.
Liz. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of magic going on, I think, in this chart.
And there's a kite also. I was listening to reference Liz. She did a full moon just on Now Chat. So for people that are subscribing to the Talk Cosmos, you'll find Now Chats. Liz, several of the members here do full moons, new moons. depending as the energy goes. And Sarah's been doing quite a few on very mundane subjects. And then I've done a whole heap of different things myself. So that's just a resource to check out. So Liz was on this mystic energy, which Liz can talk about. But I also listened to Omari Martin, who is part of the astrology. Omari Martin is Chicago's president for their astrological club, Friends of Astrology. And he's also the month for Astrology Hub. And he was saying there's a kite, which is a rectangle, which is the triangle with a sextile between. And in this case, so there's a lot of energy. Yes, connecting energy.
Yeah.
Did you? I'm really curious, Katherine, if you have the 8 degrees.
Sabian?
Sabian, because there's so much at 8 degrees. There's the sun, there's Chiron, there's Venus, and then it's in a semi-sextile to Uranus at 8, and then the moon's at 8 of Libra. So there's just a significance of
there's
9
and
axis.
And perhaps to just interpret all that, there's emotion, there's individuation, Uranus. I'm glad you brought up Uranus, Sara, because that's individuation. Through all of this, the energies that keep us from spiraling, because with the grand trine, the energy can't stop, which in a sense feels great. One's in orbit, but potentially, it's always, what direction a person uses this energy. But on the other hand, nothing necessarily gets concrete or grounded from it. So a kite or a mystic rectangle has other energetic focuses. And I think Uranus is pivotal here because it's individuation. And that's a real process of becoming authenticated. And it's not necessarily always the easiest to receive because sometimes we're pretty resistant about hearing what it is. And it's a process. So, yes.
Yeah, so the Sabian symbol, I actually used 9 degrees Libra because you go up 1, when you're looking at it.
It's negotiable.
So it's an interesting one, and I really loved this. It says, 3 old masters hanging in a special room in an art gallery, and sometimes they seem to speak to each other. I mean, that's such a great visual right there, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, like
It's
a private party. But I felt like it's communication at a whole new level, and I think also in this, what I noticed was that we have Mercury conjunct Neptune right here.
Very powerfully.
In the 8th house, which is, psychic intuition. And I'm like, oh my God, that so goes right along with the masters hanging out and communicating.
And imagining. That was another code word that I heard again and again. It's really liberal time to use that imagination.
Yeah. So, sorry. So I got that there's a possibility of going deep into realizing truth about different cultures, which is mentioned here in Libra at 9. And we just went through, I had just listened to Sara the other day about the Asian violence, that we've been horribly experiencing. But going deep into realizing truths about our culture and exposing our mind, like stretching it out and expanding it to understand more than one way. And then one of the
That's beautiful.
quotes,
If I may say about the nodal axis, Gemini and Sag explains it.
yeah. So I just wanted to say one of the quotes for Libra 9 is a Romanian proverb, and it says, "Art has no enemy but ignorance."
Ooh,
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, and art is a nonverbal energy. Aries, we have to remember that. The 2 nonverbal before Gemini, Aries and Taurus. Yeah.
Mhm.
Either Liz or Sara, I can hear you biting at the bait. Jump. And I have to tell you. Yeah, just jump in. Yeah.
The mystical rectangle is rare, but it does give us opportunities for harmonious and constructive ways to express our tension and opening up to our gifts. So this full moon chart to me is opening up to great potentials and opportunities and possibilities to heal relationships, to work on better communication. Often in my life, I've had something where I've paid somebody a compliment and it was an insult to them. And it's like, wow. And I had no intention of doing that. So it's like, because one word to somebody can mean one thing and to somebody else, it means something completely different. So even though this
And
is a full
intention
moon,
and motivation. Yeah, it gets very complicated sometimes.
it's about releasing, but it also through releasing, we're bringing on wonderful opportunities and, all that. The planets are having a party in Aries. So shifting, it's like spring is sprung. It's like shifting gears. It feels great.
Yeah, bonfire. Here, I'm jumping in. So I'll just say that I did what you suggested, Liz, from what you'd heard, and I'd known this all the time, but this time I took it to heart. Maybe because it's fire right now. You said take your past because it culminates. We can release, and I wrote them down and I burnt it in my little where I have my matches. And of course, I hadn't realized that there were so many matches in there. So I really created a little bonfire in my little bowl that I have incense. Yeah, the incense is burning, the smoke is going.
Right. As long as you have something that's fireproof, we don't want people starting a fire in their home. But if you have
Well,
a
it could be in the
fireplace,
sink. Yeah.
right, or outside, or
Yeah.
you can get a can and burn things in. There's like a lot of different ways to do that. But yes, what a great reminder at the full moon to write things down that you want to release and burn
Yes.
it or rip it up in shreds, put it in a shredder, right? It's like there's all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
I guess
And
you could
with
soak
the
it.
full moon in Libra too, it's about releasing like things that keep you off balance or that throw you off balance, or releasing indecision too. So
Yes.
yeah.
I was really resonating with your Sabian message of three old masters, and because this morning when I was first waking up, I was just having this stirring within me of the concepts kind of portrayed with the fairness of Libra, the debate of what is fair, and the pursuit of what we want, as this full moon seems to indicate. But there was also this theme of Eris. She's tied into Aries, and she is square Pluto, and I was thinking of the concept of the three old masters of being the established power, like the old, like Hera, what Hera represented, the established old world order, and then the favored power, which was what Athena represented through her ability to always strategize and out-strategize and always win the game, and Venus's power, or Aphrodite's power of beauty, and our challenges, of our ego kind of feeling ensnared in this, in these issues and these topics of how we seek to identify ourselves, and the more we fight against some of these things, the more we can injure ourselves in our attempts to untangle from it. So there was just this image of relaxing and just allowing ourselves to float, and just allowing it to kind of untangle on our own instead of fighting it. That seemed to really resonate
Sounds like Neptune.
with this chart.
Neptune's where the nose eventually.
Well, Neptune is also the midpoint between Eris and Pluto for this chart, and that's part of why.
And you might mention just Pluto is transformation, and Eris is the archetype of discord, because going back to the mythology, which you began to explain, was the Trojan War, which is
so. And Neptune just kind of, Neptune was just kind of that transcendence. So.
Well, that is yes.
I like that visual of just releasing and and unentangling yourself, just letting go and going with the flow, and whenever I hear that, I instantly go to Christopher Creek or in Sedona, there's a place called Slide Rock that you can just sit on the rock. There's water flowing through it all, and you just slide right through it effortlessly.
Yeah, that's something. And again, back to Omari Martin, he was talking about resistance there at the very end of this interesting talk that's available to anybody on YouTube, and that he was saying that the result of growth is comparable to resistance. And Amanda Pooh Walsh was asking, well, how do you know if it's fear or not? She said, well, fear is fear. So that's that. And otherwise it's a choice, or you just know plain down that you're resisting it and you know it's good for you. So, and then also the whole fact that not just because we learn through our emotions, and of course this is a full moon in Libra, but not just through pain, but also through joy. It's a whole spectrum. So, yeah. Liz, what's on your mind there? You've been so quiet.
Well, the moon has an aspect with the North Node and Mars. So to me, that's like moving forward, and in Gemini, rules communication. So it's like, if it feels like you're not getting anywhere in your communication, like you're going to all of a sudden make a movement forward, because you might find new words to use, or it's like just moving forward. It feels really good. And it also can be a change in your attitude too. So, and then it just changes everything.
New information. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, because the Aries Venus star point was just a couple of days ago, that is what we're looking at, with still with Venus and the embodiment of confidence in our heart and going in our new directions. But it happens to really correlate with, we did this last week, if people want to get more in depth about it, really correlated with the Gemini. So yes, communication and going forward in all its dimensions. Sometimes we think, oh, communication, I got that down. Hardly. It's the purpose of communication is to keep working on it. New.
Well, and words are always changing in what they mean, and so it's a constant movement forward.
Yeah. And mm-hmm.
So did you want me to talk about the gestation cycle?
Let's do it. We have about 3 minutes.
Okay, well, we're in the full moon phase of that, so we're halfway through, and this lunar gestation cycle began in September of 2019 at 5 degrees of Libra, so we're halfway through this gestation cycle. And that chart for 2019 had a emphasis in, I'm going to say, worldly events, the world, because I call that the 9th house, and the sun now again is in the 9th house for Washington D.C. chart, and it was opposite Chiron, and now today it's conjunct Chiron. So there's still this healing theme. So if there was anything that you were working on towards healing, or even mentoring people or teaching, maybe you were learning something in 2019 and now you're ready to teach it to somebody else. And even if you teach it to one person, you're still sharing that gift. So, and again, a repeat of new ways to communicate. So we're all growing and learning. It's like the school of life.
Well, that's really a good illustration. And did you bring up also about the one that would be the phases? I have to kind of learn how to denote the 2 cycles, because there's one that this full moon relates directly back to the last new moon, which was October 16th at 12:31 of 2020. Because I pulled that up. That was a little easier for me to digest. But that too seems to be looking at the same element of looking at Chiron in a different, it's more attached now to Well, it is. It's right with the sun. We're in awareness of it. It's how maybe would you say our embodiment of our psyche, our whole self has been identified with what values we had of ourself and with our wounds. And emotionally, because it's opposite, right? I mean, the full moon,
Right.
in this case, it's opposite. It's not the new moon where they're together. So it's a new awareness of that energy to release.
Right. In old ways, since we've had the pandemic, so a year ago or even 6 months ago, what was doable, what worked for us may not work for us anymore. So let alone 20 or 50 or 60 years ago. So to me, I call that updates being necessary.
The kind way. Edit, revise. Yeah. Oh,
Well,
boy.
years ago when I was a kid, if somebody came to your house smoking a cigarette, you offered them an ashtray. Well, that is very unacceptable in this day. It's like they better be outside and 25 feet or
Yeah.
50 feet away from your door. And right now we have the pandemic, so it's like you're not supposed to be having a lot of people come to your house anyway. So the rules keep changing constantly.
Thank you, Liz. Well, I am with the Moonbeam Team, and that's Liz Muschett and Sara Stromley and Katherine Metcalf. We are from different spots of the universe, and this is March 28th, the Libra Full Moon, and we will talk about the Aries New Moon coming up. And do subscribe and like us, and we're so glad that you're listening. Thank you. Be right back.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We're currently in the period of Aries. By leaving a cycle based upon completion, the energy of Aries sparks initiation, creating action to separate into a new cycle of life. It's a fire sign, which means it will involve great emotion. And because separation may create resistance, it also takes great courage to break away to new ways of becoming.
Talk Cosmos brings you leading-edge astrological conversations with hour-long programs each week on KKNW. The show goes live every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on Facebook and YouTube, along with daily chats throughout the week on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you click like and subscribe buttons so you can get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or, if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. So, grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Petra Tauchert of Petra Tauchert Astrology, and you're listening to Talk Cosmos on Alternative Talk 1150 AM, where we discuss the meaningfulness of our roots in the stars.
Alternative Talk 1150. It's good for what ails you. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA.
Oh boy, I love it. Humor is always, I'm learning the name of the game. And sometimes, oh my goodness, how to do all that. Well, this is the Moonbeam Team, a panel that comes monthly. We've been talking about the current cycles of the Libra New Moon because it comes first. And now we're talking about the Aries New Moon. I hope I said that right, New Moon, Full Moon. And that's 22 degrees and 25 minutes on April 11th in 2 weeks, because today as we speak is the full moon. And I might kick this off and just say that the Aries New Moon is a catalyst. It's serving, as a catalyst to ignite this cycle of new identity in any capacity. And it's connected always to our values. Well, right now, especially to our values, because an emotional foundation. And this kind of steps in, I think, with what Sara was talking about, because I always love when we talk about actions and taking little steps. And all of us have been in one framework or the other. But the point is that it's making those courageous steps to break into new pathways of action. So with that, my good team, what do you have to share?
Well, a few more planets have joined the Aries party because Mercury joined in and the moon is joined in. So we have 6, if we count Ceres and Chiron, astrological bodies there. So it's like they're really having a good old time. And of initiation energy, to me, Aries is initiation energy and trying to move forward and try new things, and you might try it for a moment and move on to the next one, but it's kind of like experiment with some new things.
Experimentation, that is so good. Yes.
This is quite a stellium of Aries energy. I think of because we're at that time, we're a week away from Easter, so I think of the chick that's pecked away at its shell, and it's like, wah, it's there, it's just ready to leap out into the world. And we've been so contained. I think of us because we're past the Chiron, like wanting to leave the Chiron cave where we've been during COVID, and emerge with and unite with others, and have these face-to-face situations. And like Ceres there as well with this new moon. They've just kind of integrated that point, but I've been learning a little more about Ceres through Alan Clay and his description of how it's the higher octave of the moon. And it's also the messenger planet between Mars and Jupiter, because it's where it kind of orbits between. So sometimes it's communicating to us more about Mars, and sometimes it's communicating to us more about Jupiter, but both of those are in air. So I still think that there's a lot of fuel with this, of concepts, ideas, and directions we want to go, and there's a lot of little things that we can dabble in and to get things done.
I like that whole synopsis of really these energies, Sara, and it makes me always remember that Laura Nalbandian, and to give credit where I've heard it, is not that it's always important, but Laura is such a instrumental force as a teaching, especially in the Northwest and with conferences. But that series, she does workshops that we can reclaim that an area that it's involved with. So as you're commenting on, like Alan has the different levels, like we're familiar with Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury, for instance, or Venus is and that Neptune's a higher octave of Venus. But yes, that Ceres is a higher octave because he does the dwarf planets. I'm just tying this in. That's all for people that, in my own sense, but because it can also be grief and loss, like the mythology. Here she lost her daughter, and the daughter represents what? It's the life process where the little roots are down in the ground. I mean, it's one way to look at it. And then they come up in the spring and life begins again. And here we are, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, with spring is happening. And so, yes, I love that you're bringing that it's so connected in there. It is pretty much of a pile up, especially when you start bringing in the other planetary energies, which of course we recognize, and they're very important.
And to help that, the Mars and Jupiter are sextile to the sun and moon pretty tightly, so that also brings Ceres in. So that's a nice compatible relationship right now that it's highlighting that. So that was really good that you shared that, Sara.
And when I gotta jump in and say that Jupiter and Mars is yakety yak 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 yak. It's going to be, you have to voice your thoughts, and one way or the other. So that means it's not going to be compatible. Is not necessarily, it doesn't mean it can't be, but we're talking Aries energy here. So everybody's becoming, but it's stating the necessity. So I think it's a necessity to receive also, it's this whole, it has been brought up that energy that goes out, somebody else is receiving. So it's a duality. It's not just so, I think there was a lot of talk about that with the male, because we're all transforming this idea of what masculine, feminine, the words that we've been using, that really just by exerting, there's for that person exerting is receiving, and the others that are being exerted upon are receiving. So yeah, it's dynamic.
Yeah, and talking about the male female stuff, I think it's interesting that so the sun, everything's in, well, not everything, but four planets are in Aries, and then the 2 asteroids, but the sun and moon working together in Aries is a brand new beginning. And then with Venus in Aries, to me, that's speaking about female power, the women rising up, which I'm always a fan of. And then combine that with the conjunction of Mercury in Aries, so speaking our truth. So, and then I also saw with the moon sextiling to Mars too in Gemini, it is important for us, obviously, to speak our truth, but I also think that there's a possibility for collaboration. And then with the moon sextile to Jupiter, I think that there's a possibility of coming together on like humanitarian issues and growing from that. So if we come together and focus on a cause that we care about, we can just bring lots of new energy and new motivation into birthing something new, right? And I loved, Sara, your visual of the chicks pecking at the little shell. Yeah,
especially
that's so awesome.
Yeah, it is really descriptive. And I just realized I want to toss this in before somebody comes up. 22 degrees Aries is exactly the square, you could say the first square to last year's Saturn conjunction to Pluto, along with, January 12th in that huge Capricorn stellium that is a cycle of 38 years. It's massive. It's really like we are now with all this possibilities of collaboration and pecking through the shells and the humanitarian issues and speaking our truth. Hey, there's some possibilities here. This is good. But it's really a work, right? Because it is that first square.
Yeah. Well, looking at the chart, most of the planets are below the horizon. So it's like all this energy is like working to like move forward. It's like putting things together, new beginnings, new cycles, new starts. It's like super exciting that this, it feels like, spring. It's like it's here, but it's like, is it really here yet?
It will be in 2 weeks,
right.
Yeah.
But it's really getting ready to move everything forward. It's fabulous.
Yeah, Sara, go.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of energy. There's a quickening. There's a sense of urgency that's very prevalent and strong. And I with the chick scenario, it's like there's still a vulnerability there. They have to break out of it themselves. They have to figure their own way, because if someone tries to break it open for them, they're not going to get this. They're going to lose too much of their own internal combustion heat that they need, as well as where they could lose too much of their own heat, and then they can also lose, they need that resting period at times too. Even though there is an urgency to get out of this container, that container is still preserving what's fragile still. So it is an emergence, it is a process, but it's we can't do it too quickly.
And can't do it for them. That's fascinating. I had no idea. That's really strong, because I know I have heard from other astrologers that, and then that are more financially oriented, but that is a great time. And this kind of pulls in together what we've been talking about. It's actually a great time for new businesses. You know, I mean, it's entrepreneurial, but it's an interesting thought that it still there is a self management of that energy, that you're bringing into it. But to add to that, the possibilities, it's
Well,
The
and remember,
Oh, go ahead.
remember, it's like new moon time, so to do your wishes and desires and dreams and goals, to write it down, or make a vision board, do something around that. And it also begins a new lunar gestation cycle, and the lunar gestation cycle lasts 3 years, and we go from one phase to the next in 9 months. So it goes from new moon April 11th to the first quarter 9 months later, and then the full moon 9 months after that, the third quarter 9 months after that, and then it completes 9 months after that. So that's briefly how that works.
wow, peck. We better start pecking.
That's right. Oh, and I wanted to talk about the Sabian symbol too for this one. And I actually went to 24 degrees areas because this was so close to 23 degrees. So, so what it is, it says an open window and a net curtain blowing into the shape of a cornucopia, which is a beautiful visual too. And you think about how cooped up we've been, throwing a window open. It's like, now that the weather is nice, it's like, let's get some fresh air in here. And then to have the curtain blow into the shape of a cornucopia, which is a symbol of abundance and good luck, right? So it's something positive coming our way. Like there's a window of opportunity here for us. It can be about spiritual nourishment, and just, it's important for us to be opening our mind to new possibilities and picturing what we want and projecting it out into the universe. So like you were saying, Liz, it's so important for us to write down what it is that we want to manifest, and then keep that. I always keep the new moon wishes, so that I can go back and look at, what have I manifested in that time, during that time frame. So yeah, and Aries New Moon is about stepping into our own confidence, So it's, I'm confident, I'm a good leader, I have the courage to move forward. All of those are good intentions to have under this Aries New Moon. I think it's a great time to kick off creative projects too. And they're all, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus are all in the 5th house, which is creativity and sex. Right. And kids.
for this chart, yeah.
Yeah, for Washington, D.C., if you can do it on, for the United States, you can do it for yourself if you know your own chart. So if you don't know your own chart, it can be around fun, romance, creativity. If you want to use the West Coast flow, you could do relationships, business relationships, and anything personal. But if you know your own chart, just work with whatever house it's in. And then we have the yearly lunar phase, which begins April 11th, and then the full moon will be October 20th, and then again in April it'll start again. So keeping track of what you've asked for, did you accomplish it in 2 weeks from new moon to full moon, or did it start to manifest? Did it take the yearly cycle of 6 months, or is it going to take the gestation cycle of the 3-year process? So it's like there's so many cycles to work with.
And steps have short term and long term, and a lot of times it's a feeling. I've done manifestation with Dougal Fraser, who's a psychic from Los Angeles, and I just had a webinar, and he says often, to do that, have the long term and short term. So that would work out great. But here I wanted to say that a question that he would suggested that actually works with now the Libra moon, and it could work with a new moon. That wasn't the subject of his talk, but I'm going to draw it in. Make choices that make your heart joyous and ask, is this the kind of life I want to lead? It's like, hey, isn't that what it really is all about? And it is a matter of writing it down, and one could even go along with this whole idea of the Neptunian forces that are also going to stick with us until 2026. This is not going away. It's going to shift how it's going to touch us individually and collectively. What do I need to do about or turn over to a higher power? So
I think that could be used on a fairly regular basis, whether it's once a month or 4 times a year, once a year, but that could be used. So that was great.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 2026. It's still in our little handbasket.
Yeah. Aries rules the eyes. So on a physical level, it might be a great time to treat yourself to getting an eye exam and making sure that your prescription is, clear or up to date. And spiritually, I love your new moon mantra type things. And Liz's suggestion of a vision board. I think a vision board, because Aries is so visual, that it could even pack a little more punch. So maybe just even Google image some keywords that just really resonate with you of situations that you want to draw into your life, in the areas of relationships or career or health, personal health, and any personal goals that you or celebrities that you aspire to be, that you really feel inspired by, just putting those into a vision board of sorts or PowerPoint or something.
Yeah, that's good, because it is about self-value with this, particularly with this full moon right now. And we're talking from that energy focus point, although we're talking about the new moon, but Venus and the sun at that Venus star point, which happens every 9 months, and it's going to carry as a point. So that 8 degree that we've been talking about is so potent. I don't know if somebody had a comment to say something, and I don't know if Liz, you wanted to bring up, I know that you do Sabian symbols too, and there's many different books that give references, and so there's different ways to bring them in. And sometimes if they're early, I know that there's talk about using just the degree itself. I mean, so that there's not, but I don't know if you had something you wanted to bring about that, or if somebody has. I mean, you both all take notes laboriously, so do speak if you want something to say. That's my
I bump it up 1 degree like Katherine does, and I wanted to make a comment that it's hailing like crazy here on Camano Island, like BB size hail. It's like this huge hailstorm.
Wow.
Nice.
Because it's like out of the side of my face, I can see it. That's why I kept looking over there, because it got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Good that you're inside then.
Yeah.
Liz, I remember you mentioning a Sabian symbol of a pregnant woman wearing a pastel summer dress. Was that for this moon, or was it for the other moon?
That was a past one, I believe.
Okay.
Well, that's Aries 23.
Oh,
that's interesting. So we're moving.
I don't know if she's pregnant, but it says a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load.
Oh, so interesting. So that is like really the seed, isn't it? It's like pregnant, and it's sometimes a lot that you want to birth.
And a lot that you want to unload.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah. I was having that image of a pregnant woman just on a hot summer day, just all the internal pressure and the jumble of different and spectrum of different feelings of anticipation and fear and worry and joy of it all. That was just what I got from that
scenario.
Well,
Not
thinking
Sabian.
about Aries, I'm suddenly remembering, like, we've said what it is, but it is in so many ways. It's that self-discovery, it's that self-identification, it's becoming, etc. But it's also that such um, an intuitive, instinctive is the word, right? Instinctive energy that is a catalyst, that is spontaneity. I'm just drumming out some thoughts here that maybe people can identify with, and for people to realize that, because if we want abundance, that was one of these wonderful words that came through. What do we want abundance of? What does it feel like? What does it look like? One person, it was like laughter, that it breaks up, it changes, and it seems to be a significant part of the opportunity here to find more avenues of true, anyway, of laughter.
I think of Aries having energy and adventure and trailblazing on its positive aspect, and that's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should absolutely. Last year I usually do vision boards every year. I've done them for like 20 years, and I didn't do one last year. And because I think I was just so zapped energy wise with the COVID thing. And now it's like, this is feeling different. This energy of the new moon, or the new moon in Aries, coming up here in April on the 11th. So that's it. I'm committed. You've talked me into doing a new vision board.
I'm signing up.
And I'm putting travel in it.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, Sue and Sara both came to my house in January and we did a vision board. It was a couple of days after the first, but we as close as we could get it to the first, and it was great fun.
Oh, how fun.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
Liz is fabulous with.
And we morphed it into a candle, like like one of those tall candle things. So
To see if I can put my hand on where I have a candle.
That's so cool.
And then Liz lights it. You light it, and it just those tall ones I have found. You have to, for me anyway. I just stayed lit because after a while, getting down there, it blackens everything. So it's just like
I kept putting new candles in there, dropping new ones, and just reusing it because it's so powerful just to hold it and just pay tribute to it every day. Like, I don't know.
I have not seen or heard the candle idea. Did you find it, Liz?
Oh, I've done it for like probably 15 or 20 years now. It's like, I know it's behind the curtain, but I don't want to open the curtain so people see my hands.
And
here's mine.
And then
very cool.
To me, burning it activates everything you ask for. And like, I write on the paper first, and then I put all the pictures, and then I tape it onto the candle. And to keep it, I do burn mine 24 hours, but I'll put it in a pie plate, and then I stick it in the sink at night when I go to bed, so that at least if it broke, it's in the sink, and I don't think it's going to cause any problem.
Right.
But you can just light it when you're home if that seems better. But those long things that
that's awesome
are like to start a fire that have about a 6 or 8 inch little nozzle on them. That's really good to put down in there. Or you could have the old fashioned fireplace matches that used to be about 10 inches long, but I haven't seen those in years, so I don't know if they still even have them.
Yeah.
I just use a little clicker.
Yeah.
We have only a few minutes, folks, and this is great. I want to say yes. This is like so wonderful to say about burn, baby, burn in a really positive way. Like, light your fire. All these songs that come to mind. And actually, we were going to do a workshop with this, and maybe we will, but that was right when COVID was happening. It was like trying to morph it into the online factor. So that's still an opening. I want to mention that next week we have Planet Buzz, another panel of 4 people, and that we'll be talking about something Aryan, and that this is with my panel Moonbeam Team. We have Sara Stromley on my right, and above her we have Liz Muschett, and above myself is Katherine Metcalf. Katherine's from Illinois, and Liz and Sara are in Washington. You can find them on Talk Cosmos and connect with anybody. And please subscribe. And thank you so much. We have faith that we are connecting, and we love to hear any responses, and wish you fiery, happy, peaceful igniting, and let everybody, you can chime off too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests connect soul growth patterns with the energetic cycles of astrology. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.